Hey everyone, Rob from Southgate Media Group here. Before we get started with this podcast, we have a quick message. If this is your first time checking out the show, we love that you found us and we really hope you enjoy it. What we have to say is for the subscribers. If you enjoy our shows, would you please donate to help keep these going? We don't want to have to put traditional ads on these shows, but this does cost money. So we really do rely heavily on donations. To make a donation to the show, please go to our website, www.southgatemediagroup.com. Go to the page for the show, and in the upper right-hand corner is a donate button. It takes you right to PayPal, and you can donate whatever amount you want. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. And now, on with the show.
Welcome to 221B Baker Street by way of the Southgate Bridge. I am Sherlock Holmes. This is my colleague, Dr. Watson. Actually, I am your host, Zachary here. And while she is not Watson, she is the Watson to my Holmes, Kristen Deere.
Hey there.
Today we'll be talking about, and I hope I say this right, the episode 6, Terra Pericolosa.
That sounds... It looks right. It sounds like it's right, or could be.
Well,
I have no idea.
I'm already curious about next week's episode, because next week's episode is The Adventure of the Nutmeg Concoction. Alright, so we start right off, and we have Kitty investigating completely on her own.
Well, before that, though, we've got... once again, we start out with a Clyde moment, but it's not just Clyde, it's a Watson-Kitty-Clyde moment.
Oh, yes, of course.
And I love her, Sherlock is the frowny one with the hard shell.
Great line. And he's sending her texts.
Oh, yes. Oh, and I like how she thinks of his chores for her are tuition to the University of Sherlock Holmes.
God, never say that to him.
Yeah. And then I like Watson's advice, just make him wait. Make other friends besides Sherlock. Get out there. Make him wait for you.
And then when Kitty's not responding, he sends a text to Watson.
Yes.
I remember that your phone tells me when you've read. And how many of us have wanted to send that message? I know you've read my message.
Yeah. But I like how right after she says that, make him wait, then it's like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like he knew.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we get into
Yes.
Kitty investigating. So now it's funny, they keep mentioning Mrs. Hudson, but they're not using her.
I know.
I mean, I would hate to think that this, but I'm really afraid it's because the network is afraid of fan reaction to having a transgendered actor on the show.
Yeah, I was thinking that because it makes me wonder what the reaction was the first time. I don't know
how to. I really don't. Well, they always say fan this. I really don't know how to gauge that sort of thing. I know you can look online and see, but everyone's saying everything online. So how do you really know what's the main reaction?
Yeah, I don't know, but It kind of makes me wonder because it's like, well, they keep not showing her, so I'm thinking maybe their reaction is better not showing her. I don't know.
It's got to be something to do with the fact that it's a transgendered actor, because there's no other reason for them to do that, in my opinion. Yeah. I mean, to add a character and not, I think they check. It happens now. I don't think it's the show. I think the writers they wouldn't have made Mrs. Hudson transgendered if they cared. No, I think they want to have her on the show. They just, and that's why they keep mentioning her.
Yeah, I think, or it could be, just making people wait, and
I hope so. I really hope that's what it is.
For a treat later on or something. I don't know. Yeah, I hope so too, because it's otherwise, otherwise I don't know. I hope it's not because of some reaction they got before.
Yeah, it's weird how that kind of. I keep thinking about this thing I saw on PBS recently where the original Mission Impossible, the network execs told the white blonde told the showrunners they didn't want the hot white blonde to be seen in the same scenes as the black tech guy.
What?
That's a real from the original show, Mission Impossible. The
Oh
studio
my
exec says we don't want.
I never heard
No,
that
but
one.
yeah, well, I didn't either till recently. But the funny part is the showrunners, in response to that, put them together in the same scenes as much as possible.
I love that.
They're like, screw you. But it's amazing how stupid stuff like that can exist.
Yeah.
In TV, and that's I mean I don't know. I mean I'll maybe I could try tweeting the writers, see if they get a response.
Yeah. Well, sometimes they'll react to like one person saying something, and
Oh God, I know.
it's ridiculous.
I used to be involved with some other podcasting, and like if one fan said the podcast this was wrong, then they were automatically right. We had to change the podcast.
Now that's
I
wrong.
I also worked a job that if a customer complained, you didn't work that week.
Oh my God.
Yeah, lost a week's pay because some jerk didn't get served in 2 seconds on Black Friday.
That's just wrong.
Yeah. So Kitty is now I love how nervous this guy's. Every 2 seconds, it's like you're not gonna tell anyone anything, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He was acting a little weird there.
Obviously, someone who cares about reputation.
Yep. But I love how Kitty deduces all sorts of things here, and you can see the wheels turning. How she goes from one thing to the next. How she sees, only the first few have the marks, and then they don't. So he must have gotten a key, and then were there other security guards? Oh well, if there were other security guards, then. Oh, there must be. What's her first hiding place? Oh, here it is. Oh, there's a body.
Yeah, and it makes of course, she probably. I don't know if they ever will have her deduce Holmes level deductions, but this is believable that she can figure that out.
And you can see it happen.
Maybe that's one of the reasons they tried Kitty. Maybe she's like an audience surrogate, like stuff we could figure out with her.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Although they really need to I think they need to get rid of the previously because it's just making Watson sound snippy about Kitty.
It does, but I don't know. She kind of was though.
But that's what I mean. It's like we said before. Just because you got two women doesn't mean they have to automatically be at each other. Which obviously they're not doing in the show anymore. But still showing that kind of it's like they're still doing it without doing it.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe they're just showing the progression of.
That would be nice. I hate previously on. I've always thought that was completely pointless.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
It's like the only thing it serves is people just watch. And if you're starting a show halfway through the third season, you're gonna be confused anyway. But I like how guy's just so. But he's like everything she says, he's got an answer for that involves hiding something. He's like, well, even if he is the crook, we won't press charges. And then she says the whole. I love how she says your concern for Mr. Vocal is very touching.
And then I also like how Sherlock is so proud of his little girl all grown up,
I know Bell. I like how Bell makes the joke. And Holmes is like, you jest, but actually, you tell he actually is proud that she found her first.
I mean, he basically says that. Well, you jest, but I am very proud.
And then we get that. This almost made the favorite lines, but I don't know. It's just I like how he says, "I'm surprised you got here later than us. You were called at the same time. I could give you my of traffic patterns in New York." It's like, and Gregson's just like, we're good.
It's almost like Sherlock's just one-upping Gregson, every chance he gets.
I like the progression of the call. It was let's see, Kitty called Sherlock, who called Watson, who called the guy in charge of the museum, who then called the police.
Yeah, because what? Oh yeah, because Kitty wanted to call Sherlock, but she was like, "You call the police." That's what it was.
Now this I thought was subtle. What they did just before that, when she finds the body, her reaction was very unique. I think you noticed that, right?
I like the way she kind of I don't know. It was a really I thought it was a very realistic reaction.
It almost seemed a little sad, like she's like like damn it, I'm right, he is dead.
Yeah, it's like and also the way she looks away, like I can't look at that, you know.
And she's obviously very uncomfortable around the body, even after when they're all talking around it. She's well, it could also be being in a large group, but still, the subtleties of her character, I'm loving it.
Right, and I like how she I mean that was the whole progression of the calls. It was because she said to the guy, you know, is like forcing him to care, you know, like you call the police, okay? This is your thing right here. This is your place. I'm calling Sherlock.
Yes, and Sherlock does his. Oh my God, Sherlock when he walks into the map hallway, he essentially goes ta-da.
Yeah.
I mean, he just walks in and just puts his arms up. He might as well say it. But he backs up Kitty's deductions. He also says he believes that the other maps were a smokescreen.
Right. It was all just noise, he said.
Which he asked Raphael about the inventory, and we find out that the library essentially apparently likes to put a shopping list for robbers online.
Right.
It's like, here's the stuff we have for you to steal. But also, Kitty deduces from the fact that you couldn't have walked the body out, so it had to have been somewhere in there, and that's how she finds it.
But yeah, I did. So, that's one that you, when you rewatch that part of her deducing, actually in the process of deducing things, then you see it on her face.
Yeah, so they eventually figure out that he believes it's just the one map, which Raphael says doesn't make any sense because it's actually like the cheapest map there, value-wise. I mean, it's rare, but
cheaper than their valuable.
That's what I mean. Like because like there's maps that you could be set for the other ones he took. So they realized it was on loan from a collection, and they go back to the original family that owns it. And I didn't think, but like when I saw it was this actress, just the way she carried it, I'm like, oh, she.
Me too. I thought immediately that she did it, that she was behind the whole thing. I mean, the fact that it's her and the way she seemed nervous the whole time. I mean,
she's good at playing deceptive characters. She played this lawyer. I believe it's the same actress. Played a lawyer once. And she played it kind of ditzy, but it turns out she was actually a really shrewd lawyer, and it like brought people's defenses down. And it was an excellent role. And also, I think another hit is the way she says, I mean, it's not a treasure map. Why would you offer that?
Yeah.
it's something like you always say, when they offer the information, you know they're the
right. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, but in a way, I thought they made it a little too obvious, you know? Because she kept saying things and acting in a way that it's like this is such a giveaway.
Well, a funny thing, and it actually happened on Castle this week too. A problem with TV shows is obviously when you have the villain of the week, you're not going to pick a completely unknown actor. So you pick someone who's semi-known. Half the time it means they're going to be the
exactly.
villain.
And also, actually the worst one with Elementary was last season. They did a just it was horrible because they.
Oh, which one?
It was I can't remember which one it was, but it's.
Do you remember the villain? I could probably.
It's one where it's like the first 2 minutes of the episode, okay, and they walk up and the elevator opens and the janitor is standing there and the janitor is a really well-known actor.
That was that was a good episode too. That was the Angel of Death.
Yeah, it was a really good episode, but right in the first 2 minutes who did it.
Well, it's true, but it had not in case anyone hasn't seen the episode, you should. It's a good episode. It did have kind of a twist at the end, even with that in mind. Right.
I mean, it was still overall it was still a good episode, and it still had the twist and everything. But
it makes me think
part of it how they. Yeah. I don't like when they use these well-known actors and you just know right away who did it.
Right. Well, when it's like, oh, I'm nobody, it's like you're really not.
Yeah.
They should have an episode they've had red herrings before, but they should have an episode kind of parrying that. Like they have someone who's so obviously a bad guy and villain, but he's just not the killer.
I always hope for that. Whenever I see someone, I think, I know that they did it, but I'm hoping.
Well, they do it sometimes. I just can't think of anyone off the top of my head. But it makes me think of Hot Fuzz. How they wanted to. Have you seen it, right?
No.
The movie. You've never seen the movie Hot Fuzz? Oh, it's a great action parody movie. And they said that because they set out to make fun of action cliches, and one of the things they make fun of is the obvious villain. And they like Timothy Dalton plays the obvious villain. The whole movie is about. It's like he's the villain. Even the hero knows this guy's got to be the villain. They even said they wanted to try to put a neon sign flashing villain pointing at him. It's that kind of thing.
Okay.
So Kitty goes over and brings Clyde's toys, and they're really playing up. I mean, well, you guess you could say mother, but I can kind of see it also as Watson as her big sister.
Yeah, that I see. That's what I felt like when I first saw them working together. Actually, even after Sherlock kind of made the comparison to them being like parents, I was thinking that Watson is really more like a sister.
I think it's a good way to view them too.
Yeah.
Of course, we get Sherlock still testing Watson's lock picking technique,
Oh,
and I love that part where
you forgot to mention waxing his single stick.
Oh God, that's right.
Yeah, that was just a funny line right there.
Jeez, and you know after saying it, everyone's picturing it. Just Sherlock just going, "Hey, how you doing?"
Oh no. Okay, stop.
Okay, so and I like the line here. He's she's getting really. They're making her really snarky. I don't know what it is. She sounds like she's irritable about everything this season.
Yes, from the very beginning, every scene she's in, she's snarky about something.
And he's like, I mean, what are you doing picking the lock so loudly? Why don't you just announce your head location to an enemy? Now I was looking up. Now we get a little bit of history. Now I had a tough time finding out if this man really existed. I mean, obviously the maps and stuff did, and I think the man did, but I'm not. I can't be completely sure. The resistance member they're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I've tried looking it up, the spelling of the last name and pronunciation made it really hard for me to find it. I should have tweeted the writers or something.
Yeah.
But I liked a bit of history. I like Sherlock's commentary on how like the progression of history is all based on cartographic espionage.
Yeah, and there were a lot of jokes on Twitter about cartography. Yeah, cartography puns basically.
Really, I would have liked to have seen those. You don't see a lot of cartography puns around.
I should have I should have brought them up. I have to go back to bring them up. I usually put them in my reviews, but I don't have them with me.
So through Holmes's investigations, he finds a frame shop that connects to the man he was talking about. So he's looking for people's internet map, and he finds an image named Stuart Zupko. No, I've always wondered. We only see his picture of his dead body. I wonder if he still gets paid a good amount for that cameo. You know?
Yeah.
Because we all we see of him in this episode is him getting shot, him dead, and the picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they do that a lot in the show. They figure out someone's involved in the case, and like 2 seconds later, the police call him. Yeah, we found him.
Yeah.
Dead.
I like the idea of the niche theft and how maps put people into a frenzied state. Map collectors. The whole idea of them who stole whose maps and following maps around the country and stuff. I love maps, but I never knew that there was there were collections in a frenzied state.
Whenever you involve art and when you involve history and really a kind of art, people like it's amazing how people will go after each other for it.
Yeah.
So they go to the map makers, and Sherlock they find the body, and they believe he was killed during a buy, and Sherlock deduces that the map is indeed a fake.
Yes.
And I gotta admit, a couple of things about, I found parts of this case a little confusing. At first I like exactly why people were doing the why, and then some of the twists were good here. So he's trying to they bring in the Bray woman.
Right, the Bray woman.
And I think that's a good title for her because she is just acting so innocent.
Yeah.
She's like, what do you mean this? When you rewatch this,
Yeah.
it's like, oh God, it's a fake. Well, I had no idea. My grandfather would never do this.
It's a little over the top.
Just a tiny bit. And and I think it's an interesting forgery because they said that someone took a real map from that period and wiped it clean because it's the paper's original. I'm pretty sure they said like it's the right time period.
Right.
And the ink, but the ink is from the 40s, which implies
right
that
they
the
used
map,
a forger, an experienced forger.
Yeah, that her grandfather must have given the museum a forgery.
Right.
And I think, I mean, we'll talk about how that comes into play a little later, but I really like the twist was because the ink. I'm like, oh yeah, if the ink was made in forged, and then they said something else that was so obvious later on. That's the line I was trying to think of. She goes, well, I'll have to take your word for it. It's like, you liar! And she actually I like how she's like, you can feel the raised edge as she starts touching the mat through the plastic. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to feel it through the plastic.
I was thinking the same thing. She's all touching it. Oh, it's raised?
She should just go, this is a map?
She's acting so stupid, and it's just too obvious. I don't know. I don't know why well, whatever.
It wasn't as obvious to me the first time, but the rewatch, it's obviously hindsight's 2020.
I don't know. I had made up my mind when I first saw her. And so like through the whole thing I'm thinking, I kind of was seeing all this stuff all the way through. I'm like, she did it. She so did it.
Yes, and then of course they tell her your life might be in danger.
Yeah, it was kind of I don't know. I didn't like any of the scenes with her because it was I just thought she was too obvious. You know?
And then we get Holmes catfishing.
Yeah. Yeah. Honey trap, setting up a honey trap.
Yep. I just love how he ends the screen. I forget I think he said it was 1776.
Yeah, Amber 1776.
Amber, that's it. Now we get another bit of fascinating, probably true trivia, like about how people will take apart and put together an atlas for collectors, auction houses, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and how the complete atlas would be worth several million. But then that was also interesting that wasn't even the reason, because you're dealing with, I guess, multi-millionaires.
Well, it's the old saying, you hear hoofs, you think horses, not zebras.
Right.
And then, anyone else really want to see the correspondence? Because Holmes was flirting.
Yeah. I mean, they were talking about, how are you going to send dirty... Who was it? Watson said that. How are you going to send him your dirty pictures or whatever?
It's such a funny little moment. And Watson actually calls him, she says, you are a honey trap. He goes, I am a patriot.
Yes. Oh, I love people who don't suck. Amber loves people who don't suck.
They almost say a flirt, like, he shows me his Virginia, and she's like, I get it. Yeah. And then I like how they involve Belle in it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, first before that, they talk about Kitty a little bit.
All right, Holmes running Kitty really ragged.
Now we think, as Watson says,
right,
that he's just being like he was with her in the beginning, and we think so. We were like, he's just being petty. He's just being, and we get this great what they're talking about, and I like how she's saying, I'll offer to help. She's like, and he's like, what, you weren't offering to help before? And she's like getting frustrated with him.
Right. I like how they played all that out. the character development in this one was it was really top notch, actually.
And but it turns out the man's saying he doesn't have the atlas anymore, and I like how she says, like you said, how you gonna send her a picture? And he says, you underestimate her resolve.
Yeah.
And then we get this guy, could not look more married, and he takes off his wedding ring, and Belle shows up. I find it funny.
So cheesy.
I can't. I'm really surprised it wasn't Holmes, because I mean, the funny thing is they never actually tell him that Amber's not real.
Yeah.
And I like how he's like, wait a minute, she actually did want to see the brave act.
Yeah. I mean, that was how he got him to tell him everything, basically, by not ever telling him that Amber wasn't real. This whole time he thinks that he did something horrible, because she must be underage, even though Belle never really said anything. The guy made all these fake connections in his mind,
Well, that's how it works sometimes. Let the other person imagination go, and they will tell you everything.
Exactly. That was the best.
He just looks so afraid. I love
it.
Yeah. And then when he said, he's like, I can do better than a bank account. I can give you the law firm. And they're again being made to wait. Oh, and they get this great line about the helicopter and the hearing. There's a helicopter landing on the roof. I'd be like, yes, and someone that needs help's 2 cities away. So what?
I love Watson's mocking of him.
Yeah, the rotor's pulling a little to the left. And he starts, again, just talking about Kitty again.
Yes, and this time they're like arguing in front of her, and I mean it's almost like they're talking about a puppy that they share or something, like they're talking about Clyde or something. She's mine, you're not.
Well, they get little bits of it, like I like how the argument kind of spreads out throughout the episode.
Right, yeah.
Like they little bit, like it keeps getting interrupted, so we don't get it finished. And they get to look at it, and when you think about it, it is like parents, because like you got to put on. It's like we will discuss this later.
Yeah. Oh, and Kitty's face when she walks in later.
Well, that yeah. Well, then the later part of it, that was.
Yeah,
great.
She knows they were just arguing about her. It's so obvious.
And then we meet Mr. Hull, who's fully ready for them. And I like this threw me off when he's like, "There's the atlas, you can have it." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
Because the whole time that's what they've been looking for. It's just like, there you go. And it reminds me of we talked about destroying the laptop last time. This time the guy's just giving him a multi-million-dollar or close to it piece of history. I'd just be like, yeah, I'll take that. And Sherlock, which is what tips Sherlock off that there's something up. If he's just going to go, here you go, something is definitely up.
Right. It has to be information on the map.
Yeah, I love how Holmes is just not taking the guy's bull at all. Right. It's like I give you if you give us your word, well, there you go.
Like, yeah, he's buying our allegiance, so that we'll give him the missing piece that he's looking for.
Yeah, it's just he's interested in fun, and I like how they're asking him, well, if this is so important to you, why don't you give us this information before? He's like, oh, I could be exposing myself to a lawsuit. Well, and I think that helps Holmes believe him because he's saving his own butt.
Right.
And so I think did they say to him? I'm trying to see if they said to him they'll take the case, or if they're just taking it anyways.
No, they didn't say it to him.
Yeah, well, that's kind of because they didn't want him to know. He didn't want him to know what they were doing.
Right. That's why he said afterward. He said, "Yeah, he's just trying to buy our allegiance, so that we'll give him the map. The original map."
No, but then Holmes saying he just wants him on our side, but he's like he doesn't want the money, but he wants the map. But why?
Right. So that's where Sherlock figured. He finally deduces, oh, the map is missing information. The forged map is missing information, or the information is wrong.
Well, if he deduces like if there must be value, but it's like what is a map of record of information? So there must be information on it that is worth something.
Right, and that's why the guy died because the forged map had the wrong information, not just because it was valuable.
And so next, I believe there's another piece of the Kitty argument next, isn't it?
Right, the Kitty argument. Yeah, we skipped ahead.
Oh, we're allowed to do that. It's our podcast.
Right. And then after the whole Kitty argument, and Kitty knows they were just arguing about him, then Watson is working overnight with them, and so it's okay for Sherlock to come in and wake her abruptly.
Oh, yeah, we get here's something we've missed. Holmes waking up Watson rudely.
Yes.
Well, the thing about I think there's this line, I believe this is where it is, where Holmes, when they're arguing about Kitty, and when he says, "Oh, that's right, you two are exactly alike," and he says, "When I met you, you were a virtual hermit, unable to look me in the eye because I was a man."
Right.
I like that line, and we get some insight in the whole because this is when we see he's doing this to her not for self. He's genuinely protective of her.
Right.
Which shows growth in the character from season 1.
Yeah, and so and I like how they did this, where he basically, gives all the reasons, but in the form of an argument, of like arguing with Watson. So it's not, it's not one of those things where he's just giving away this information in a way that's like too obvious. So so the audience knows, just so the viewers can find out. It's in a way that goes with the story, I don't know if I said that.
No, I know what you're saying.
Okay.
And so, I think this fight gives more credence to the fact that Watson's her big sister instead of the mother, because this is totally something a sibling would say. If I get a call, do I have to stay not answer it too?
Right.
And then I love the way he keeps saying, "You are not my protege."
Yeah.
Like he's so protective of her.
Very much more than he ever was with Watson, actually. Even though in the beginning it seemed like it was the opposite. It seemed like he was being really mean to Kitty, and he was never that way with Watson, but he was actually being more protective of her, and he was never as protective of Watson because she didn't need it.
Right. Well, and also when you remember, Watson came in a way as his maybe mentor and protector, you could say, because she was his sober companion. She was delivering him from his addiction.
Right. I mean, it was kind of opposite. Watson was the one there to help Sherlock, and Sherlock in turn, basically taught her a skill.
Right. I love, like we said, I love them arguing, Kitty in the middle. She's just like, "I'm going to go to the bathroom unless one of you has an objection to it."
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I got this friend I watch elementary with, and they say the weirdest thing like every week. They look at Kitty and go, "Wow, she looks so British." I'm like, because she is British.
Yeah.
They said and they said the weirdest thing. They're like, "No, she looks like 70s British." I'm like, okay. I'm not sure what that means, but all right. Yeah, but I know I said all right, but I just love the scene where he says about her being a hermit. It's so protective.
Yeah.
Like he's like he doesn't want her to be hurt, and I don't even know what that would be like. That making a friend or someone who's like, and having the claw out from that kind of pain.
Right.
But they're doing that so good here.
They do. Everything here it seems really realistic. I mean, I've had friends with sort of similar problems. I mean, not as bad as Kitty, but it's realistic, very realistic.
Yeah, well, like I said, they got addiction right, and now they're getting this right. I really although a lot of people are afraid about the relationship with her and Watson. Some people even think that they're using her to phase out Watson, which obviously is untrue.
Yeah, I don't think so. I guess we can't be sure of anything, but
I mean, they're not gonna get rid of Watson. I mean, come
No,
on.
I mean that wouldn't make any sense, but who knows? I mean, they could try to go in a completely different direction, but I don't think they would.
I think they're my best guess is they're gonna give Kitty a spin-off show.
Yeah, that's kind of how it feels it might go, but I don't know. I really I don't know where they're going with it. It could be that she's just gonna be a permanent part of the show.
If they can make that work, great. I mean, one thing this show does, and it likes doing, it's proving that it's its own Sherlock universe. It does things that no other home story does before.
Definitely, yeah.
And we get this part, which I found a little confusing the first time I watched it, because apparently it's all about the only difference between the maps are a river. And I think the way I got it was, okay, if the map is a forgery, that means it can't be contested.
Right.
And so the casino can be built. Which when the first time I'm like, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
But so they actually go to the casino. And by the way, really crackerjack security teams, they don't know someone walking by tables with a camera.
I know. Jeez. Although it was a funny scene there where Kitty presents that to us.
Yeah, and then we get to go to the Indian casino. And apparently the decks are stacked, and they get him to talk. And apparently, the guy they had created their own. They were gonna do the same thing. Well, I don't know. Did he say he was? Did they say exactly what they were gonna do with the forgery?
The casino guy? Yeah, he was going to replace the original, but he never got a chance to.
I find that funny. Like the guy's like obviously he's into the criminal, but he's like, whoa, that's a little too far for me.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, you can have this. We never did anything with it. You know, we were going to, but we never did anything with it. We never killed anyone. So here you go. I'm not part of this.
Yeah.
And I like how that's where Watson realizes who it was. And I like how all three of, Sherlock, Kitty, and now Watson here, they all had a significant input on the case.
Yep. And so it turns out that obviously it's the Bray woman.
The Bray woman.
Yes, that'd be a good title for a Sherlock case, the Bray woman.
Yes.
And it turns out that the family owns land, like right where the casino is going to be built. And I gotta say, I wouldn't mind seeing that casino. A casino with a river running through it.
Right.
Although I'm kind of glad it wouldn't get built because the amount of trash in that river would probably be amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, look, a dead hooker.
What? That's not a good picture in my mind.
Well, it's a casino. It would happen eventually.
Hey, this isn't CSI.
It could be. It's the same network. What? You never heard of CSI Virginia?
Oh no! Stop that!
CSI King James, Virginia, the old. Oh my god, I want to see that just as a short, although they have tried to do like steampunk CSI in the past, So anyways, they find out that if the map, it turns out the actual line of the territories is actually farther to one side than they thought, so they wouldn't be able to build the casino. Although why they couldn't just make it smaller and comedy, who knows? But anyways. It turns out that they made an interesting and I love this because, like I said, it was a fake out because we hear, ink in the 40s, but you can get ink made in the 40s,
right?
Especially if you're skilled for it. And when I heard that, I'm like, I think that was a good fake out.
Yeah.
Because again, what made this episode good and unique, in my opinion. A lot of it was you were looking in this direction when all the stuff was happening over here.
Right. If the woman wasn't so obvious, I would have liked the Bray woman.
Yeah, right.
Wasn't so obvious, I would have liked this a lot more because I actually liked the mystery here, and I I liked everything except for her.
Well, in this world of us hating the one percenters, the second you got a rich person in there, you know they're involved.
Yeah.
So she's doing the whole what? Hey, whoa, hey. They're saying how to do that kind of forgery, you need someone skilled in. I have, of course, my favorite lines. I'm starting to gonna have just lines that are my favorite just because of the way they're said. And Gregson just goes, "You need someone from the old school."
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, the way he just delivered that line was fantastic. And they looked in the guys who would do that kind of work. And they find someone, and I love how the funny thing is when you think about it, if she hadn't screwed over her partners, she might have gotten away with it.
Right.
But they showed the map maker that she killed the other accomplice. But
Yeah, so it's because of his fear that he's next.
well, not only that, he screwed her over, which I love because he kept the original. He gave her a forgery too,
Right.
and kept the original map because it was worth something.
Well, I mean, she wasn't, it's not like she was loyal to that guy at all, and so why would he be loyal to her either? I mean, they were both, I don't know why she would even trust that guy. But yeah, that was pretty good. I mean, just a bunch of criminals screwing each other over.
Yep. Oh, I love how you can depend on thieves just screwing each other over.
Yep.
So, and he has the original, which had mold, and I like the science of this mold that would prove it's been in that library, and of course her fingerprints because she used that frequent traveler thing. Also, it kind of proves to the paranoid people that why you shouldn't do that. And I just love the idea that she's a rich woman, but it just would mean even more money. So of course that killing people is second nature. Like,
Yeah, that was kind of weird though. They didn't really she didn't get to explain what she didn't get to explain we didn't get to see much of her personality really.
right.
We get to see why she is the way she is, you
Well,
know?
it was just greed.
Yeah, but they didn't I don't know. It just seemed like that was one area where it didn't seem like there was enough there, you know?
Well, something I thought of, and there's probably reasons for this, but the map was hers. It belonged there, so she could have just gone to the library and say, "Give it back," and just I'm doing air quotes here, lost it,
Yeah.
and just be like, and then nothing would be admissible in court because even if it was the high res scan, she could be like, "Oh, those are all." But I understand she wanted to discredit it, but still, she could have just done that and not killed anyone.
Yeah. I mean everything she did I don't know, it didn't make sense to me. The character didn't make sense to me. They didn't explain well why she was the way she is, why she is the way she is, and why she went through all those steps. And I don't know. She's just, I guess they're just doing, you know, this is an evil person, and that's all you need to know.
Evil and
like
greedy.
they do on other shows.
She's evil and greedy.
Right. I mean, sometimes they have, I mean, they develop all of their main characters so well, and sometimes they develop some of their secondary characters really well. But I don't think that was the case here. She was just evil, and that's it. There's no like other reasoning behind it. We don't get to see why she is the way she is.
I like how she thinks she had destroyed the original. Well, like I said, if she had just destroyed it on her own, she probably would have been fine. But she wanted to discredit. But I'm pretty sure that if she just destroyed it on her own without the whole forgery thing, it still would have worked. Obviously, people would have been suspicious. But if the original copy is destroyed and it's her copy, there's nothing anyone can do.
Yeah.
But I'm probably just nitpicking. But yeah, I could see what you mean about there was just not much to the villain. The case was the star of the show. The map, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
The map was the star of the show.
The only problem with that, though, is that the mystery was pretty good, but then when you don't develop the villain at all, it kind of lets down the mystery as well. It's better when the two are excellent together.
Complement each other, you're saying?
Compliment.
And now, once that gets wrapped up, because it gets wrapped up pretty easy, well, at the end it gets wrapped up easily, we have this fantastic scene with Kitty and Holmes. Gotta be one of my favorite scenes of this episode.
Yes.
When he tells her, like about the busy, she's like, I don't mind the busy work, I knew we'd be doing it. And he tells her he found out about the boy, and I think it's great that she's fallen for a guy named Zachary. I think that just makes sense. Now, and I think I should play him just because I think that would work. But anyway, and he's telling her, and she tells him, I love this. I knew you were giving me busy work. Oh, and he tells her how much he's proud of the progress, how much she's come, and you think she's going to be insulted or angry. And she tells him, I knew that you were giving me, and it made me feel protected.
Yes, I love that. That was such a sweet moment. I love how she like kind of cries about it a little bit. It's just really, I love that part.
She's good. She's very good, and because it was very believable. Like she wasn't bawling, she just got a little choked up, and Holmes is just sitting there taking it, and the interaction is just great. And she said it made her feel loved. It made her feel so protected.
It's a perfect scene. There's nothing wrong with it. It's perfect.
Indeed. And then we get. I like how they have their moment, and he's like, he tells her how Watson said she's going to help out so you can have more personal time. What you do with it, it's your choice. And then
and this is actually proof that Watson is going to be around more.
Right. I'm just curious to see if she's going to stay up for this season. But I like this because he's like, there's an entomology exhibit we were gonna go, and I love her first reaction was, you said you were gonna leave him alone. Like she knows him. Like, don't.
But I love how it's just a dorky offer to meet Zachary over insect studies.
And she actually, I wonder if we're gonna meet him or not. If he's gonna like be someone we know. Someone we're gonna know. I mean, you know what I mean. I wonder if they're gonna have him become a character.
Yeah. Well, he may also be kind of like Watson's boyfriend. You don't see much of him, but
I wonder if we're gonna see him at all. I bet Watson's boyfriend's gonna become a little more prominent a little later in the season.
That would be cool because I like how he seems okay with Sherlock.
I love that. That's one of my favorite. I just love how it's not like oh, it's got to be a competition. I really hope he's normal. The show wouldn't do it. I just hope he's not really secretly a enemy, whatever, you know. Although Sherlock did that, it was just
They do that way too much.
I know it's got to be an ulterior motive. Just make him her boyfriend. That's that is one thing that would really set apart this Holmes universe from any other. Making Watson's relationship relevant and staying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not a joke. Holmes never lets her see her significant other. And if they let her get married by like next season, which it probably would be till next season, but that would be an interesting choice. It would be great progression for the character.
Yeah, and that would actually be an interesting twist on things as well.
And okay, so we get that great moment, and the episode wraps. So I believe, should we talk about our final thoughts?
Yep.
Okay, so what did you think about the episode?
I liked the mystery a little more this time, but I didn't entirely like how they went about revealing it, mainly because of the Bray woman. I wasn't a fan of I wasn't a fan of the villain at all. I mean, I just, I don't think she. I mean, we don't know anything about her, so I guess we just don't know what she's like at all. So I just didn't like her. And then just knowing that it was her right at the beginning, and so I didn't like that part of it, but I like the mystery itself. I just wish that everything else would have been a little bit different. But of course I loved the character progression of the main characters, and I loved the clues at the very beginning. Those were the best ones. I liked watching Kitty find them and follow each until to the next until she finds the body. And so that was one of my favorite parts of the whole episode, and all of the parts between Sherlock and Kitty and all the main characters. All of those scenes were perfect.
Yes, for me, I can definitely see, like it's funny because usually, especially their female one-offs, are usually so short. I think one of my favorite females has to be the one for Sulfur X. She was a good one. I mean, they do, but this one, and it's not the actress because I've seen her in other stuff. She is fantastic.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Maybe they just had a hard time balancing it out. But in any event, I'm not putting down this episode because I liked it. I liked the way the clues led together. A lot of history in it, and there was even a few. It was weird. It was like a pseudo red herring because the ink was a clue that the map was forged in the 40s, but it was just ink in the 40s to throw people off the set, which I thought was brilliant. And of course, I think I like the progression, the little twists and turns, and the reveal that Holmes is actually very protective of Kitty was brilliant.
Yes.
So I would definitely. Does it have a high rewatch value? Maybe not enormous. It's not the most rewatchable episode, but if it's on, I'll definitely watch it again. Or if I need something to watch, I could see myself looking at it again. So I would give this episode good marks.
I think the beginning is rewatchable, where Kitty finds the clues. I like that
most
part.
Of the Kitty parts are rewatchable in this.
Yeah, actually, all the main character parts, but yeah, I mean, I this episode would have been perfect if they had fleshed out that villain a little more.
That would probably would have made it even better. But it's a good. I definitely think it's a good episode overall. So now let's do favorite lines. Have you written it? Do you ever have anything you'd like to mention for lines and whatever?
I think I already mentioned them actually.
We probably have the same ones. My two favorite lines are the frowning one with the hard shell, talking about Holmes, and waxing his single stick.
Yes. Yep.
And
I did mention those too.
And even though it's not really a favorite line, again, I want to mention how Gregson said old school. It's something about the way he said it that I like. And now it's time for everyone's favorite part of the show, the part where for at least 10 minutes you only hear Kristen's voice. It's time for Kristen's Clue Cap.
Okay, so the crime this week was map theft, then murder, then another murder. And the first clue was that the first few locks on the drawers appear to be picked, but then further locks down the same aisle are cleanly opened. Then the second clue was that there was a missing guard, but other guards were working and the guard wouldn't have picked any locks. And so this leads Kitty to the next crime, which was the first murder. And then the third clue was that a few maps were taken from the first few drawers, then one map in a farther drawer. So Sherlock deduced that map was the target, the Bray map. The next clue was also that maps of greater value were not stolen, which also means that the Bray map was targeted. So that was another clue. And then the next clue was that other libraries had similar thefts, and that led them to the store owner who specializes in that map niche. And so, but the next clue is that the Bray map found there is fake, but this also leads to our next murder crime. So now we know who stole the map and killed the guard, but now that guy is dead, okay? So the next clue is that the fake map appears to have been forged in the 1940s, which means it would have been a forgery all along. But from there, they make several jumps here, okay? And the map is, one of them is that the map is part of a very valuable atlas, and it also leads them to several other people who may be involved, but it all kind of goes in a circle. The next clue that leads anywhere actually is after they realize that the Bray woman's property handed down to her would only have value if a casino would be built, but it could only be built based on the location of a river as it appeared on the forged map. Okay, so the next clue was that aspects of the map, such as the ink, were old, but it was just a very good new forgery. Okay, and they also looked for experienced forgers who could make such a forgery that appeared to be from the 1940s. So they solved the rest of the case based on information from information and evidence that they get from this forger. So, but there aren't really any more clues. They just get everything they need at that point. Okay, that's it for the clue cap.
Okay, now we actually have a little addition to this week's episode. Email. Yep.
Yay!
This is from Ian Miller, and now I'd like to apologize to Ian. He actually wrote this to us in November, but my Gmail has been acting up late, and I finally cleared everything out, and I found this email. So, dear elementary podcasters, that's us, just wanted to drop a note to say that I really appreciate the podcast. Elementary's unique and exciting interpretation of Sherlock Holmes and Watson deserve the kind of intelligent enthusiasm you provide. I wanted to mention that I thought the third season premiere, Enough Nemesis to Go Around, was very reminiscent of the original short story, The Empty House. Watson forced to work on her own with the police, a locked room, gunshot mystery, Holmes returning and having to figure out how he fits into Watson's life again. It felt subtle but very present. Thanks again for the great podcast, Ian Miller. Well, thank you very much, Ian. And yes, I do see the similarities between the two stories. So everyone, remember, if you want to call the show, you can find us you can follow us on Baker Street Podcast for Elementary. It's Baker Street Podcast on Facebook, Baker Street Pod on Twitter, and of course Baker Street Podcast at gmail.com. We welcome as many emails as you can because we love discussing the show. Kristen, do you have anything else you want to touch upon?
You can find me at facebook.com/Kristen Deer, KRISTENDYRR.
I don't know why that made me think of the Mickey Mouse song when you spelled it out. I have no idea why. And she's the friend, KRISTENDYRR.
I think you got the tune wrong.
Well, you try to make that work for the Mickey Mouse.
KRISTENDYRR.
All right. So that's it for this. Well, actually, we were a little late this week, so we're gonna be watching Elementary tomorrow. So that's gonna be interesting. I believe that's the last one of the until the next year. But either way, so everyone, thank you for tuning in. Keep the emails coming. We love because it's a great proof that we're not just sitting here talking to ourselves. It's time for us to go now, for the game is afoot.